Today we have with us Mark Henry. He's a Catholic attorney, author, and philanthropic advisor. He's the author of Finish Faithful, the ABCs of Planned Giving, and other publications and resource materials. And Mark wrote a very wonderful article in Crisis magazine, and it's one of the things that I've just been reading a lot about lately. The title is America at a Crossroads, Balancing Faith, Reason, and Artificial Intelligence. Welcome, Mark, to the show. How are you today?
Doing well, Pat. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. This is a very interesting article. I love it. And so I'm going to jump into this. In the article, you mentioned that Pope Leo the 14th chose his name because he sees this point kind of in human history like what Pope Leo the 13th dealt with during the Industrial Revolution, right? So how do you think this time of this AI going on is like the Industrial Revolution?
Well, I think it's very similar in that in the Industrial Revolution, of course, technology enabled, large businesses and industries to really utilize mankind in a very utilitarian way. And it took quite a while for the government to respond and to pass laws which protected workers. And we're already starting to see AI impact the job markets. And I think the impact of AI is going to be very significant, and it does require that there be some guardrails there. And how we develop those guardrails, is something that we have to think about, but I think it certainly is going to require the insights of Catholic teaching. And so, whether it's going to be some kind of a federal commission or some kind of, collaboration between the faith-based community and the secular community remains to be seen. But it's very important because I think AI is going to have an even greater impact on our world, on our communities, than the internet revolution did.
Oh, I think you're right. And one of the things you mentioned in the article is you call them the titans of technology, right? The owners of these kind of large tech companies. And you say that, that they have kind of a great influence on this direction of AI, but their ideologies are and could be at odds with what we believe is the right way for this AI to be used. So how so? How are their ideologies problematic?
Well, we've seen it very recently. You look at, all of the internet companies, you look at Google, you look at the social media companies, and they are very utilitarian. And during the 4 years of the prior president's administration, they collaborated as active participants in censorship, in restrictions of freedom. And it's because, they don't share the worldview of the faith-based community. And so I was very concerned at the inauguration when I saw Trump surrounded by all of these titans of tech. And so they have changed the color of their stripes in order to avoid, regulation and, pushback by the current administration. But I don't think they've seen a sea change in evolving their moral outlook, and that's why it's going to be important for the faith-based community and government to put some guardrails in there that are going to make sure, or at least make an effort to ensure, that AI develops with an eye towards promoting dignity of the human person and the common good. Because left to their own devices, these tech titans are certainly going to follow a utilitarian model, which is going to focus on profit and control rather than human flourishing.
Yeah, that's very true, I think. And it's so hard to get a read on it because they kind of go the way the wind blows. So you never know exactly where they're going to go or what their deep found beliefs are. But I think you're right. I think this is something we've seen in the past and we'll probably see in the future too. One of the things you mentioned in this article, which was kind of new to me, so I was hoping you could elaborate a little bit, but you mentioned E.I. Shoemaker and his book, Small is Beautiful, and also Rick Santorum's Blue Collar Conservatives. You say they can really give us help and practical insight in dealing with AI. So can you explain their insights to us?
Well, Small is Beautiful was a very momentous writing by E.F. Schumacher, and it pushed back against the Industrial Revolution and focused on the importance of making sure that these large industries and large corporations did not have a free rein in terms of just treating mankind as cogs in the wheel. So it was a very significant, epic writing, which really has spawned, a whole school of thought in terms of economic development, which is intended to make sure that there are guardrails on business and making sure that, the economy is developed in a way that suits mankind rather than mankind merely being, a cog in the wheel.
Right.
And U.S. Senator Rick Santorum's Blue Collar Conservatives kind of continued the same discussion with more of an eye towards, the political applications of it, and just making sure that we don't forget that the purpose of economies is to protect the family, develop the community, and protect the worker, and not just be instruments for utilitarian profit-making enterprises.
Yeah. So, Mark, we can't put the genie back in the bottle. Obviously, AI is here. So what is our role as Catholics in how this is engaged, how AI is engaged?
Well, I think we have a rare opportunity with the leadership in the federal government right now to push for involvement by the church, involvement by faith-based organizations, involvement by Catholic colleges as participants in the guardrails that need to be placed around AI, because we're not going back, we're moving forward, and it's already having a significant impact on labor, on the economy, and there's been efforts at the federal level to regulate it. There was this 10-year moratorium that was proposed that was rejected, and it's the states that are really moving forward and starting to regulate this. But it's kind of haphazard. It's like the Internet was during the first, 3 or 4 years. There just were no, guiding benchmarks to ensure that it was developed in a way that made sure that, human flourishing and, the community benefited. So I think it's incumbent upon leaders in the faith-based community, and that's why I was so encouraged by Pope Leo XIV, because Rerum Novarum literally translates to new things. And so this is the big new thing, and it has to be developed in a path forward that is guided by the natural law, guided by, faith-based concerns,
right,
like making sure that humanity is not used as a tool by
right,
AI, because that's the direction that it's heading. So there needs to be faith-based, partnership
input,
and
right,
associations with the regulators to make sure the path forward promotes human flourishing.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. It's been a joy having you on the show. Mark Henry, Catholic attorney, author, philanthropic advisor. Thanks again. We've been talking about the church and our role in AI. Have a good weekend, Mark.